Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Desire the Fire. This is Chandler,
This is DP.
and we are back with another week of another week.
You forgot our podcast name.
I'm speaking in tongues.
Whoa, that's controversial there, buddy.
It's pretty controversial. Oh man, come on, let's just.
So what are we welcoming everybody back to?
We're welcoming everybody back to Desire the Fire,
Podcast.
and
Podcast. Sorry. It's a long day.
thank you guys for joining us again. This week we have another topic for you guys, but before we begin, we have a shout out to our sponsor. You know what? This is something that we should have shouted out a while back, maybe. But shout out to Jung Hong of Untitled Photo with the F,
Oh.
and he actually took the picture that if you look at the picture on your screen right now for our podcast cover, that's actually taken by Mr. Jung Hong, and he's actually like my mentor.
I think it's a pretty dope photo too, no?
Yeah, dude.
It kind of reflects our podcast well.
Yeah.
A lot of nonsense going on. I'm just kidding.
A lot of nonsense going on.
No.
Just burning things like, ah!
And we've also got it was kind of like a collaborative effort, right?
Yeah. So Jung was actually the one that took the
photographer.
picture, and we got shout out to David Yoon. He actually did the photoshopping to, I guess, make sure our logo pops, and he actually designed our logo,
That's our brand right there.
which is pretty amazing. I've never had a logo before.
Yeah, I feel like legit.
Have you ever had a logo before?
For my no, never had a logo.
So this is like our logo. This is
yeah.
the first time we're ever having a logo.
Yeah, dude, we're like people now.
We're like people now. We're official.
Yeah.
We're an official podcast.
You guys might not think so, but in our own worlds, we're official to ourselves.
We've officialized ourselves. But yeah, shout out to David Yoon. He did a good job. I think in the middle of designing our logo, the first time through, he actually got his MacBook stolen,
Yeah.
and we hit a hiccup.
So we try to take it another direction.
We took it another direction. We actually got the photo, which is kind of what we're planning to do anyways.
Yeah, it was kind of weird too how it was like
So
that
we got,
one picture
yeah.
worked out perfectly.
So we got that photo, and then we went back to David Yoon, and then he was able to use a different computer and then regenerate, I guess, what he created, and then put those things together, and now we have our cover picture.
Yeah.
So that's like a mini story
Sponsored by
about.
these
yeah.
two. Well, what was the name of that photography company he has?
So Jung, his if you want to check out his work, he's Untitled Photo. So Untitled Photo with an F.com.
I think you can follow him on Instagram
You
and
can
everything.
catch him on Instagram at Untitled Photo. Untitled UNTITLED
Now say it after. Untitled.
Untitled Photo.
Good,
And
you passed the spelling
all
bee.
this stuff will be all this stuff will be in the show notes. But yeah, it's maybe we'll have Jung on a podcast. I don't know.
Hopefully, huh?
Hopefully.
But anyway,
he's
thank you,
my
Jung.
mentor. He's always, honestly speaking, Jung is my he was like, I guess not a Bible, like a small group leader for me in college, and I feel like I caused him a lot of problems.
Oh, yeah,
Maybe
you
a lot of emotional problems.
Yeah,
I
you
don't know
would sit
about
there and
emotional
just
problems,
like,
but
Channel.
he used to call me emo, so I used to be a lot more emotional back then, and I was very.
Back then. No, I'm just kidding.
This is rag on Chandler Day. But yeah, he stuck through me, and after college, many times, like a lot of Bible study leaders or a lot of small group leaders, once you're done being small group, it just kind of ends. It fizzles out, and you don't talk to them anymore. But Jung's someone that's always stuck with me, and whenever I need help, whenever I need something, he always says yes. And I don't know many people that are like Jung, where as soon as he asks, like 20 minutes later, it's just yes, or right on the spot, yes. And I feel like sometimes it causes him more problems for him to say yes, but he's always there, and he's always looking out for me, and I think I can really sense that, and I just thank you, Jung, if you're listening to this.
You think he'll listen to this?
It's his cover photo.
Let's just if he ever listens to just one episode, let's make sure this is the one.
This is the one. Episode 5, Jung.
Love you too, Jung.
But shout out to some of our sponsors, or one of our sponsors. We're at
Sure.
8th Light Studio again.
8th Light Studio, right. It's located on 1636 West 8th Street. I don't know if they're comfortable with me giving out the address, but they are renting the studio out to the general public.
If you come here, it's a ghetto building, but inside there's a studio.
The studio's amazing.
Don't walk into the building. Everything has locks on it. We have security.
But if you do want to get in touch with the guys that are running this studio, you can always tweet at me. My Twitter handle is superdan0 at superdan0.
And you can always email Desire the Fire podcast if you want more information. We don't have the rates on hand and we don't have like the hours that they're available, but we can connect you to the person that's in charge.
Right. So what's our email?
Desire the Fire podcast
At
gmail.com.
gmail.com.
So we're actually in this studio right now, and it's pretty nice. It has like nice decorations.
I saw a painting.
Because every studio should have nice decorations,
Yeah,
right?
definitely. You need to get that creative juice flowing.
But to the studios, what is it? To the studios' credibility,
Oh, okay.
we're not actually using any of their equipment right now.
Well, we're using their mixer.
But it's not technically hooked up to any of the studio gear.
That's true. Yeah, so we're not...
So everything that you hear right now is still our production.
It's not
And
studio
we're going
recording.
through our production,
Yeah.
but they allow us to use the studio space to do the recordings, in essence, sponsoring us,
Right.
so that we are sponsored to use this space, and that's
That
why
was
we
too
shut
much
them out.
explaining for something that they don't even care about.
Okay. Eighth Light Studio, get on it.
Thank you. Anyway, Chandler, do you know the 10 Commandments by heart?
Yeah, of course I do.
Do you really?
Yeah.
What is commandment number 13?
Thou shalt make Chandler dinner every night.
Whoa. You
Thou
must be-
shalt buy Chandler ice cream. Thou shalt massage Chandler's back.
Thou shalt learn math. That's the one.
Thou
'Cause
shalt.
There are only 10
Thou
commandments. Thou shalt learn math. I'm just kidding.
You didn't hear revision 2?
Revision
This is
2.
blasphemy. You know,
Don't
Moses-
desire our fire, desire the fire of the
Moses
Lord.
threw the commandments down the third time afterwards. It's the unwritten.
I don't know if you ever saw it, but there was an old movie called The 10 Commandments. It starred Charlton Heston, the president of the NRA, and
No way.
yeah,
He's the president of the NRA?
or he was like the spokesman of the NRA or something.
I
like
did not know that.
that. Anyway, Charlton Heston. I think it was a-
Charlton, not Charleston.
Charlton, yes, Charlton. Anyway, there's a funny line or a funny thing there. He has 3 tablets, and I think he trips or something like that, and he drops one of the tablets. So 5 of the 10 commandments like disappear permanently because of human error. But I don't think that's biblically accurate. It's just really funny. But yeah, there are 10 commandments, and we're not actually going to be talking about all 10 because.
There's just not enough time in this podcast because
And I don't have them memorized either. Except for the one about Chandler and math. No, I'm just kidding.
Chandler and math.
But we're actually going to be focusing on the 4th commandment today, which is to remember the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. There are a lot of things that happen on the Sabbath day, right?
So Sabbath day is on Saturday or Sunday?
Actually, we're talking about DP Sabbath, which doesn't exist. I don't have a day off.
This is so you're breaking a 10 commandment.
No, I'm keeping it holy, but I'm just not. I'm just not-
Keeping it holy.
I just don't get to rest on the Sabbath like we were meant to.
Man.
Yeah. Anyway, we're talking about Sunday. So our episode today is entitled "The Sunday Struggle," and it's one of the
Sunday struggle.
it's one of the podcast episodes that I was really looking forward to recording with you. Because let's be honest,
Because your story is amazing.
my story. No,
People
no.
will not believe your story.
Oh, man.
Let's not talk about any names, though. I see a name on there. Let's not talk about any names.
Okay, no names because said party will be very embarrassing.
Said party.
No, but I mean, Andrew, you serve at church, right? When
Chandler serves at church.
Chandler serves at church, and DP serves at church too. So what capacity do you serve at church?
Right now?
Mm-hmm.
Right now, I am currently the Secretary of Defense
Oh,
and the Commissioner of Basketball.
on Sundays only.
And also, I am the National Gun Association's, National Rifle Association's spokesperson at my church.
At your church.
Everything that I said right now is false.
Oh, really? It's false, huh?
Forgive me, Lord, for I have sinned. I've
We
lied.
sin way too much
I've
on
lied.
a Christian podcast. My goodness.
Oh, man. Sometimes I wonder, we're like talking about Jesus and stuff, and I wonder if we push the boundaries too much.
I think we push the boundaries every episode at least.
Yeah, so
3
just to
times.
reiterate, this podcast is about just 2 guys being real about Jesus. And I think
No, it's 2 real guys being about Jesus.
2 real guys
Yeah, we're
talking
not-
about Jesus.
Talking about the real Jesus
Oh.
that often.
What does that mean?
We're total sinners.
We're
and we
talking
don't
about
reflect
fake Jesus? But to a certain degree, I think that's correct. Where we're still learning about Jesus, and we're trying to figure out, um, I guess, how to learn about him more.
Of course, man. I mean, you'll never fully get it until we're there.
Yeah, so you get the point. But anyways, at church, I actually play right now. I actually go to a church plant called City Chapel. Shout out to City Chapel. I actually said almost a bad word.
You have a
But
problem with that chapel, huh?
dude,
The adjective you're about to use to
City
describe
Chapel.
that chapel was...
Go ahead and search for us on Facebook, City Chapel. I think on the internet it's My City Chapel OC or citychapeloc.com.
Mm,
It's a very small church plant, so we have very few people, and the pastor actually came and set up this church, and we actually joined a little bit later, kind of.
mm-hmm.
We're actually part of the church plant team,
Okay,
but since we weren't part of his former church, we were kind of like just adding on, kind of.
sure.
So right now, what I do is I play the cajon and I play the djembe during praise.
The cone?
The cajon.
Well, what's that?
It's a box with it's a hollowed box with like, the snare springs on the bottom.
Are you sure they put you on the praise team, or they're just trying to entertain you while the service is going on because they don't trust that?
Well, thinking about it now, I'm actually off to the side, like outside of the building.
You're just...
They Skype me in. They FaceTime me. I'm just playing. But yeah, it's we're a three person praise team, so my wife actually sings and we have a praise leader that plays acoustic guitar. And that's what I do. I've never actually played cajon or djembe until I joined this church and I ended up playing.
Well, that's pretty sweet. So you learned this instrument, if you will, this
Over
box.
like a year and a half, I guess.
I
Djembe,
feel like it's
djembe
more
and
like an
cajon.
office product. But anyway, you learn how to play this office product.
I played a hollow box.
Hollow
I
box.
just boom 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 boom.
Okay, so I mean, you serve at church. By
So,
the way,
in
we're not
praise.
affiliated with City Chapel, so if you have problems with us, don't take it to City
Yeah,
Chapel.
don't take it to City Chapel.
Just take it to me
Just
at Super
come
Dance
to
or
come
on
to City
Twitter.
Chapel and you can yell at me. I will bear your.
Well, I feel like you're still promoting the church through through having them come to your
Yeah, if they need a church, the doors are always open.
even with like pitchforks and torches and stuff.
We love you.
Okay.
We love you as Jesus did.
You might scare the heck out of us, but we still love you. Praise the Lord Jesus.
But we are not. Just to make it clear, we are not affiliated with City Chapel. I just go there.
We're just kind of two idiots doing our own thing right here.
we got to make that disclaimer loud and clear.
We're two idiots. We're two idiots.
Jesus loves the outcast.
Okay, well, I mean, the reason I ask is because, yeah, we're talking about the Sabbath once again. That's what we were talking about, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, like I serve at church as well,
In
and
a leadership capacity,
in a leadership capacity,
shepherding role,
shepherd. Wow. Okay.
discipleship.
I like to do public speaking on Sundays.
I like to do, I imagine you in a courtyard with a Bible in your hand and one arm raised down, and you're just like, "The Lord speaks to you,"
Oh my
and then the wind
gosh.
is blowing you. Never mind.
Okay.
Okay.
So we were talking about the reason I bring this up is because there's this unspoken assumption, I guess, that the people who serve at church really enjoy being at church. And I'm not saying I don't like being at church or nothing like that, but I mean, I heard it once. There was a pastor at Calvary Chapel in Golden Springs, the one in Diamond Bar. Their head pastor, Raul Reese, he said very candidly during one of his sermons, some days I really don't want to be here. And like, I totally feel him sometimes, and not for the reason that I don't like my church. Shout out to my Ilshin youth group, but it's not that I don't like being there or anything like that, but it's hard. It's a struggle to go to church on Sundays.
To a certain degree,
Right.
it feels like work, I guess, which it shouldn't feel like work all the time, but
Yeah.
it does. It can.
And right, and some people might not be able to empathize with what we're talking about here, but I think we all know what we mean when it's kind of tough. There's a struggle to go to church on Sundays. Do you agree?
When you think about it, yes. But
Yeah.
when you don't think about it and you just go, not as much.
Okay, I guess that's fair too. But I'm gonna
And
be
I'm
honest.
not. I guess at the church that I'm at right now, I'm not doing much.
Oh,
So
you just enjoy it?
I very much enjoy it right now. It's very blessing. I just hit this wooden box and listen to the word of Jesus and praise and pray.
Andrew was raised as a good boy, by the way, ladies and gents. I was a little more rebellious. Even now, I'm sitting in a Christian ministry office with a Raider jersey, and we all know the implication of Raider fans and stuff like that.
Oh man.
But anyway, like like typical Sunday morning, what happens? When we get ready for church, maybe a little late, just rushing to get to church.
Or you push snooze on your cell phone alarm clock
Cell phone, yeah, and
about
then
5 times.
all these things happen, and it gets hard to get out there, and then you sit yourself down eating breakfast, and you realize I don't have time for breakfast, and then you just like rushing out of the thing and come back and you see this breakfast still on your table. But anyway, yeah, it's a struggle to get out to church sometime, isn't it? I don't know. I guess you just said it's easy for you.
Not right now, but I think at times when I was like, I had to lead elementary worship praise, I had to lead youth group worship praise, I had to lead EM worship praise, and then I had to lead the prayer meeting after that.
So you're just like
And
singing all day,
then
huh?
I had to lead part of discipleship, and then there's prayer meeting after that. And
Wait, so how long were you at church during all this?
on the
Plus
weekends,
minus,
on
or
the
eight
weekends,
8 hours plus minus 2? Okay, I
plus
don't.
minus 8 hours, 8 hours plus minus 2 hours. Well, I would get there around, let's say, like 9 o'clock,
Mhm.
and I don't think I would leave until the sun was almost setting, maybe.
Oh, in California during the summer, the
I
sun
think,
doesn't set till 9.
I, well, let's say like after dinner.
After,
Maybe I'm headed to go eat dinner.
oh, that's like a full day for you. That's a
Yeah,
good like
I
9 to
don't
5,
on that day, nine to
9 to
five
5
job.
type thing.
Yeah, I would say.
Oh, okay, it's a long time.
And there's no breaks in between.
Sure, it's just one thing right after the next.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I feel you. It's not so much that's not my schedule right now, but no, I'm there at church from like 9 in the morning till about. On a rough Sunday, I've been there till like 4.
And then how much is prep?
Oh, dude, prep's on Saturdays. There's no
Yeah.
prep day on Sunday.
So you got prep too, right?
Yeah.
Technically speaking, so it's not just Sunday.
Not that I get my messages ready just on the day before, but
Do you?
no, no, no. Like, I'm constantly thinking about it and revising it throughout the week.
Yeah,
and
but you're
stuff.
finalized on Saturday.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But it's a struggle. I mean, forget the fact that it's all work and stuff like that too. I grew up Christian, but not really. I stopped going out to church when I was in high school, and so I'm so used to growing up. At least in the more mature portion of my okay, high school isn't really mature.
So you stopped going to church in high school and you came back like sophomore year, middle of sophomore year in
Right,
college.
right, and I've
So
developed
that's
a lot
about
of
like 5, 6 years
yeah, it's a big gap, and that's where like you really start to form habits that affect the rest of your life.
where you had already developed most of your brain
Yeah.
during your years of
Well,
junior
I
high
kind of
to the
destroyed my
second.
brain as I was developing.
Oh, this is true. So I guess it kind of makes up for it, kind of.
It's some twisted logic, yeah.
Yes. Praise the Lord.
Yeah,
God
but
works in mysterious ways. Oh man.
man, imagine how much smarter I would have been on this podcast if I hadn't done some of the stupid things I did. Awkward silence.
I'm thinking about it, cause you're not giving me the option of saying the same thing. Okay. If you know what I'm saying.
But anyway,
Back to our topic.
the point I'm trying to get at is basically I've developed a lot of habits on Sundays that I used to like to cater to, and it made it tough
So
to
how
go to
did you,
church.
how did you even get out of church when you were a kid? Like, did you get in trouble? Like,
Oh,
my mom, because my dad wasn't Christian.
right. She would beat you with like a Bible or something like that.
Mm, I think it would be worse. I think it would be like verbal,
Oh,
and she would take away everything that I loved.
oh. Actually, my parents were a little more lenient with it because we kept switching around churches in the years that
Mm,
it was hardest for me to make friends.
uh-huh.
And so they kind of understood the pain. But what I would do is like sometimes, like when you're younger, you can't really be home alone, not legally anyway. And so I would just sit in the car for a couple of. I think this went on for like a good 6 months.
So you just listen to radio?
No, I would just sit in the car and I would like hate life and I would just be so mad.
You just because you're there.
Yeah, and I didn't have a choice. I just had to be out there.
Oh, snaps.
And I remember thinking this was the worst thing.
Rage.
So I started getting a little smarter about it for a little while. There was a period where I did go to the service, but part of service is there's an offering time. And I figured if I'm gonna have to suffer through this service, I might as well benefit a little bit. So it started off with me stealing my parents' offering. So they would give me the
What they
offering.
give you, and then you
Yeah,
just
I'll
keep
just
it.
hold on to it. Eventually,
I
I
was
got a little
scared.
smarter.
I was scared about that.
Oh yeah, first time I did, I'm like, oh frick, God's gonna like strike me down and steal all my money ever again.
God's gonna beat me himself.
And to be honest, I was really scared of that.
I'm
And then
going
I
to
did it
hell.
once, and it didn't happen. So yeah, it started off with that, and then actually I got a little more creative, and when I was pretending to reach in with my dollar, I would take two or three more out with my hand and just hide it in my hand, and so I would steal money from the offering plate, and so
Offering bag, probably not a plate, right?
or yeah, it was like the
The
velvet bag.
velvet burgundy
Yeah,
with the
yeah,
yellow cross,
yeah. So
and it's like
um,
bluish inside.
well, this is becoming confessional time, and when I was 7 years old, I'm just kidding, but yeah, I started resenting church, and I didn't want to go out for a long time. But one of the things that I really like on Sundays is football, and thank God it's only like a quarter of the year.
Raider fan.
Raider fan, silver and
When
black.
did you become a Raider fan? Because I know you played football in high school.
I was a Raider fan a couple years before that when I first started getting into football.
Like that's like junior high or
Yeah,
sixth grade.
so like probably 96, 97.
What is that? That's like freaking fourth grade, or for you that's like fifth grade.
Fourth, fifth, something like that. Anyway, it's like
Wow,
upper
you
elementary
understood
school.
football back then.
It was
And you were
just
living in an Asian community too. I don't. What happened to you, bro?
my best friends were Mexican growing up, so I guess it kind of works out somehow.
Interesting.
Yeah, but football's on Sunday morning. I don't know why it's like that. Every football game that matters.
You know why football's on Sunday morning?
Why?
Because I talked to some people on the East Coast.
Hmm.
By the time they're out of church, it's on.
Oh, those lucky son of a
East
father.
Coast. Son of an East Coast.
Son of a East. That makes sense.
But yeah, and it's like they're like the guy that I was talking to was like, that's just wrong. Watching football in the morning, that early in the morning, this is wrong.
But you don't understand when you're watching football that early in the morning. You're in your pajamas, and you can just watch football.
So for a West Coast thing, it's like Sunday morning cartoons. Is
Yeah,
like
dude,
football?
it's better than Sunday morning cartoons. You see guys beating the crap out of each other and stuff.
Yeah, football is something that I just started getting into.
Yeah,
Like
it's
last
fun,
year.
man. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing once you get into it, and
Yeah.
it's just you wait all week for that one day
Yeah.
your team plays.
And everything happens on that one day. And like legitly, if you live in the West Coast, you can start from about 9 in the morning all the way to about 10 at night.
If you're on the West Coast, yeah, they go from like 12 in the afternoon to like 3 in the morning.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So they never watch the late night Sunday night
Yeah,
games.
yeah,
and stuff.
yeah,
But
yeah.
then we get to watch it all day. And as a
Yeah.
non-Christian, not going out to Sundays, I didn't have to do that. And so one of the things is I want to share a little story here is my third year in college, I had just come to Christ the year before. There was a Sunday morning where like years of habit building kind of just made it tough for me to go out. And I was living in a ministry house, so like all the guys in my house were a part of a ministry and stuff like that. And I remember that Sunday morning just like, man, I don't want to do anything. It's just one of those lazy Sundays and lazy afternoons. And like the service started at 1:30, but I just didn't feel like going. It was already 1:30. I was in my groove of laziness and nothingness. And I was just chilling there on the computer. And one of our roommates was there. And he was taking a shower, getting ready to go to church. And he's like, okay, DP, it's your turn to take a shower. I'm like, nah, I don't want to go to church, man. I'm not going to take a shower. And he's like, as if I've offended him the worst possible way. Like, you got to go to church, man. What are you doing? And like, he starts in this like really squeaky, like really funny voice. You got to go to church. And
Like in a weird, sarcastic, but really serious voice.
and I'm thinking, oh crap, he's serious about
It's
this.
both serious and sarcastic at the same time.
And
I don't know how he does
let you
that.
off. He's really stubborn with that. And I'm thinking, oh,
Come on, man.
my
What are you doing? Come on, man. Get up, get up, get up, get up.
Yeah, it's like, come on, you gotta go to church. I'm like, no, man, not today. Give me a Sunday off, man. I'm just tired.
It's like if you're the yang, he's the yin, or if you're the yin, he's the yang.
Yeah, I know. Especially the two of us, we're polar.
In
I
the
don't
ways,
know.
when you're dark, he's light. When you're light, he's dark.
Yeah, it's so funny how that works. But mind you, he just took a shower, right? And he heard me say, I don't want to go to church. It's like, what? So he comes out of there as quick as he can, still dripping in the shower water, and he's stark naked, standing on the second floor railing, and looking at me saying, you gotta go to church, man. I'm like, what the heck? This is freaky right here. You hear about these like super like zealous Christians that are down to do anything, and I'm just like freaking out because this guy's yelling at me naked.
have you been a Christian for a year? At this point, it might have been your 1 year mark around
just
there.
maybe just about a year. And I'm thinking it's not a big deal. It's just one Sunday, dude. Let me go. But you're standing here yelling at me naked and like,
man.
wow. Like you would hope that the bars between the railing would kind of cover stuff up.
No.
But it's positioned exactly the opposite.
Those are wide railings, man.
Yeah.
The house that we lived in.
And he was yelling like, "You gotta go to church, man!" I'm like, "Oh crap, no!" And so he's coming down the stairs. I'm like, "Oh my god, he's chasing after me! I don't want him to hug me naked and stuff like that." I'm freaking out, and I go out the backyard. We had a backyard. It was a 2-story house. This is a pretty nice house, right?
It was an awesome house.
And we go to the backyard, and he's following me outside. I'm like, "Oh crap, he came outside naked. What's wrong with him?" I was like, "No way. Okay, the only way I'm gonna get away from him with him being undressed is if I run out to the front yard again." And I'm running out. And I hear the gate opening behind me.
Oh my gosh! You close the gate and then it opens behind you.
It opened and he's out there. I'm like, oh my god,
He does
this
nothing.
is like sexual predator right here. I'm freaking out of my mind. So I hated running that year. I was really fat that year. I think I put on 30 pounds just that year.
Oh man!
I ran for my life, just like
Oh, man.
down the street. Like he didn't chase me. Thankfully, he went back into the house. But then, of course, the Holy Spirit's guilt struck me at that moment. I'm like, oh,
This man had passion.
this man be willing to run out naked so that I will go to church. Jesus died naked on the cross. I'm thinking,
That's how you correlated, dude.
naked man.
Oh man!
Oh man, I
It
just
must have
like,
hit you hard.
yeah. Well, I was like catching my breath, and I was like, oh, fine. We ended up going to church that day, and it turns out when we got there, I took so long, we missed the service.
Oh man! So
All that
he's-
wasted effort, but
Oh, but you still went.
yeah, that Sunday struggle, man.
Interesting.
And now I'm a pastor. I'm just kidding. Oh, but that was one of those experiences where, like, I totally feel you. You know, you just want to, like, chill. It's a nice Sunday afternoon. Maybe football's on, whatever it is. And, you know, it's just hard to get yourself out that door sometimes. And if it wasn't for my friend who did that, I think I would treat Sunday mornings a lot lighter than I have. Probably
Interesting.
breaking the fourth commandment on a daily basis or weekly basis.
And then ultimately thinking, oh, it's just church.
Yeah, it's just church, whatever.
Jesus is more important than church,
Yeah.
right? Which
That-
is like, there's
Yeah,
no
'cause,
wrong on
you
so
know,
many levels.
Some people even reason like, you know, you could watch sermons on TV
Oh yeah,
or on the internet.
Or I
and
got the
stuff like
podcast. I got 5 sermons and I can
Yeah,
listen to it
yeah.
every day of the week.
Yeah, and like as if that was holier, but no, God makes it clear. Honor the Sabbath.
Yeah, and there's a
Keep it
community at church, and there's a lot of different things. It's just a sermon.
Right. Right.
But I think I have a similar story, but not really the same.
Hopefully. That was freaking
Man,
traumatic, dude.
I should have gone first. No one has chased me naked because I didn't want to go to church. I think one time when I was in college, in the same house actually. I wonder if there's a trend. The house we called actually intensive care unit because we all felt like we needed intensive care in Jesus. But interestingly enough, I had stayed during the weekend of finals week, and what had happened was a few of us have decided to go to one of the churches that the other guys go to that live in Riverside and stay like we live near it, so we go home on the weekends. But because it's just far enough to waste enough time to like study, a lot of us opt to stay on the weekend for finals week because we have to cram a quarter's worth of learning in a couple days because we didn't go to class. But that morning we woke up and I'm just going along with the flow, and it's actually Thanksgiving weekend. So technically speaking, this isn't finals week. I think I just had a lot of midterms that week.
Sure.
It sounds like because I
Yeah,
remember
the
it was
professors
Thanksgiving.
like to stack that stuff right before vacation. And
Right
stuff.
before vacation, you have to come back and you have to. So I think after Thanksgiving, I came straight back home because I needed to study, and then I just studied the whole weekend. Sunday morning we wake up, and then I hear one of the guys go like, "Forget it," because we woke up late. It's like he was like, "Oh, it's like 10 o'clock. Service is gonna start in 30 minutes. We'll never make it. Let's just go to a different church." It's like, oh, and then everyone just knocks out. And then the other church starts at like, let's say 1, there's 11 o'clock service, 1 o'clock service. So we decide to go to the 1 o'clock service. We wake up later, we're all getting ready. And then we decide to go to the church in Riverside, and we get there, and then there's people at the church in the parking lot. They're like, dude, service just ended.
Oh.
We had service at 11 o'clock because it was Thanksgiving service.
Oh, jeez.
And we just look at each other like, so we're not going to church today.
Oh man, I mean you can't really blame yourselves for this either. It's just like a curveball that came at
In
you
the
guys.
begin, but it all started with the beginning where we didn't wake up in the first
Okay,
place,
that's true.
and we could have just hurried up and gotten ready and gone late.
Hmm.
But instead, we opted to go to a different church altogether,
Hmm.
which is kind of like laziness in itself. We shouldn't be in that situation. That's not our church.
Hmm.
It's just it's just a lot of different things playing into factor, and we missed Thanksgiving service. So I guess in if there was ever a scale of services to miss,
Hmm.
that's pretty high up there.
Yeah, because you're ungrateful now, man. You ungrateful
Grateful.
Christian, dude. You don't know how to give thanks to the Lord.
Oh man, I didn't give my offering into the cornucopia.
Does your church do that, or like Thanksgiving, you guys all bring up baskets and stuff, or like
I
fruit?
think we've only had one Thanksgiving at the church that I'm part of right now,
Uh huh.
and it's we did something where we put a basket together
Hmm.
for um, like homeless women that were living inside what's
The
that
shelter,
shelter home
women's
that's trying to
shelter.
get like yeah women's shelter
Yeah, yeah.
and some things that they needed or some things that they wanted,
Oh, that's
and
pretty
we made a
cool.
basket
My church, we just display a big basket of fruit.
cornucopia like the Hunger Games.
Sure.
Just
Oh,
kidding.
weapon of choice. They're all
Weapon.
apples.
Apples are all. You fight with the fruit. What are you, real life fruit ninja? You fight with the fruit
Oh my
instead.
gosh. There's a video of a real life fruit ninja going on something.
I've seen something like that.
Yeah. Well, okay. So, what makes it so hard for so many of us to go to church on Sunday? I don't know. For me, it was always football. Football season makes it real tough. I gotta be honest. I'm so tempted, even as I'm giving message to check scores on the NFL and stuff like that.
I think for me, for a certain degree, it's accountability.
Okay.
If you are going to a church, like in my case, if I don't go to church and no one would know because
Hmm.
they already know I'm going to a different church and the other church doesn't know,
Hmm.
it's like who would know if I missed it?
Okay. Or if you go to like a really big church where you might not necessarily know like
Yeah,
many other people at the
what's the
church.
point kind of thing where
Yeah.
I can just go to Starbucks and write a story or
Okay.
read comic books
Just
or
enjoy my weekend, pretty much,
yeah.
right? Yeah, and honestly, like if you're not a Christian, Sunday isn't that big a deal. It's just another day off.
Yeah, and sometimes I think about that and I think of other people that don't go to church and they're like it's Sunday.
It's so
So
relaxing.
if I was and then I went to a thinking where it's like Monday through Friday I work my butt off and then Friday night you play, Saturday you do chores or whatever and then you play some more
Hmm.
and then Sunday morning rolls around and it's like yes, nothing to do.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, but
And
yeah, Sunday will be the
tomorrow,
one
the
day,
next day is the day that you go to work, so
right?
it's like I gotta maximize the day of nothing,
So that I could go work
work my
my
butt
butt
off for
off again.
5 more days.
Right, right. And it sounds
That
great,
would that would change a lot of different things. They call it lazy Sunday,
Yeah, they do.
lazy Sunday afternoon, whatever, lazy Sunday morning.
I feel like you're turning a lot of our listeners off to going to church right now,
Really?
just because it sounds so chill. No, to be honest, I love relaxing too. I'm a very chill guy.
So what will happen is a naked man will pop out of the shower and chase you down if you don't go to church. So you better go to church,
Oh
boys
my
and
gosh.
girls.
Imagine the most horrifying experience you could ever imagine.
It will happen to you.
Honestly,
We
I'm
might have
traumatized.
we might have what is that called when you 감동 받았어? What is that called in
You're
English?
touched.
Huh?
You're emotionally touched.
No, 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 no.
You mean like post-traumatic stress
No,
disorder?
never mind.
That's what I'm
We
going through, man.
inspired someone to do something
Oh,
to that someone.
uh,
It's gonna happen to someone now.
but I think some of the other things too is like, say for instance, Saturday is like our fun day. Maybe we had a little too much fun. Personally, I know what that's like. Like for many Christians, weddings are on like Saturdays and stuff, right? And you don't get to meet up with a lot of your friends until a wedding. Like after you graduate from school, you're done with all school and everything like that. Everyone goes off and does their own thing, and you don't get to meet up with a lot of these guys. They say you only ever meet up twice in your life again. It's your wedding, and then unfortunately
Funeral.
your funeral. Yeah, and if it's your funeral, you don't get to meet anybody at all. But the thing is,
That's rough, man. Why'd you gotta bring that up?
but the thing is, like on Saturday, like especially where we're at an age where all our friends are getting married and stuff like that, Saturday's just burned. All the way to midnight sometimes. I remember staying out with my wife and her friends till midnight. They hadn't seen each other in like 8 years. Some people were in Vegas and NorCal, all around the world. Somebody was from Paris. and like it's tough, you know.
Does this happen on a weekly basis or something? Dan,
Oh
you sound
man,
like you do this
I'm
like every
still tired
weekend.
from like last.
Last year's meeting.
No, but you know, like there's like some crazy Saturdays, and it makes it tough to wake
I
up
feel
on
you.
Sunday. But you know,
That Sunday morning is harder than Monday morning sometimes because you
yeah,
want to crash,
yeah,
and you have the option to crash.
yeah, it's
It's
true.
strange that I was always thinking about this thing that when your budget's constrained,
Hmm.
the first thing that you cut is tithe.
Oh,
I always think about this. The first thing that people cut is tithe because they think it's optional.
hmm,
And like who's gonna care? God's
yeah,
not gonna call you 50 times in a day because he's trying to collect your money,
hmm,
you know? But I noticed that in the same way in church, when you're tired, the first thing that you'll cut out of all the obligations that you have is probably
worship
worship or church.
or
Or
service.
just I'm not gonna go to praise, I'm just gonna show up to sermon and then
Let's snuck out during the sermon. At least I'm there.
play Candy Crush during a sermon. I
Oof.
heard um I heard from someone that they were in service and this it was a big mega church
Hmm.
and the family pulled out an iPad
Mm.
and then started watching Korean dramas in the middle of the service and a whole family.
A whole family. You know what the worst part of that too is? If it's a really interesting drama, then the row behind is screwed too. Yeah.
Oh
I used to do
shoot.
that in class where like we would sit in a lecture and I would sit there watching like funny animal videos on YouTube,
Really?
but my screen was like a 17-inch
Yeah, you
laptop.
had a huge
It was huge, right? So like I'd be cracking up and I'd hear like someone behind me chuckling too. I'm like, oh crap! I just took down like a whole row of people down with me, you know?
It's funny. You know what I would do
Hmm.
in computer science class because it was kind of easy for me?
Hmm.
Um, I would play Gunbound or Counter Strike,
Just in the middle of
StarCraft.
class.
And then, but if you Physics 2000 for the shout out to people going to UCR,
Hmm.
it just goes straight down.
Yeah,
It's just literally like a silo.
it's like a cliff.
It's like that, the Star Wars, the Senator
Oh yeah,
building.
yeah. That's
It's like
exactly what
it's
I was
like
thinking.
that, but so if you look down, you see everybody's computer screens, what everyone's doing.
Hmm.
A couple computers you see playing Counter Strike, so I'm like, oh, I have my computer on, and no one's gonna care, and
Uh-huh.
then boom, Gunbound, and then the people next to me, like some of my
Your
my
friends.
my friends, they're like trying to take notes and don't know much about computer stuff, and
Yeah.
I'm sitting there playing Gunbound.
You know, I saw one step above that. I don't know. I hope this never happens in church. But somebody brought a game controller with their computer. They just plugged that sucker in. They were playing Street Fighter throughout the whole lecture. And I was like,
Lecture?
dang.
You mean sermon?
No, no, I'm talking about lecture.
Oh,
I hope this never happens at church. You know, oh man.
he brought his computer like.
Yeah, or not his computer, but like a laptop.
Oh, and then he plugged in
He
his
plugged in his controller into the laptop and he started playing all this different stuff. Anyway, we're way off topic, but you know, like
Wow,
during
dude.
sermon, it's bad enough a lot of people are on their phones, you know. Let's be honest. You're looking at the Bible for like maybe 2 seconds, but
Even
then
when you go to church, you're not really at church anyways, kind
yeah,
of
yeah,
thing.
you're like on Facebook and exploring the world and stuff.
Exploring the world.
You
That's
know,
when you do a lot of deep thought. The first place that you do a lot of deep thought is on the toilet.
on the toilet. Oh yeah,
But yeah, it's interesting.
on the toilet.
I think one of the things that my friend, one of my friends that really he got really bothered by this, but when you see like praise people
Mhm.
and then they come down from the stage
Mhm.
and they come back and then they're in the congregation listening to the sermon
Mhm.
and then they pull out their phones.
Oh.
They pull out like one of my friends back in high school was like the singer went up there and she was singing all passionately
Mhm.
and then she came back and she pulled out a psychology book and she started studying
Oh.
in the middle of sermon. Of course, he was more of a judgmental type, I think, but
Yeah, because
it
you
was
never
just
know. You could be studying
yeah.
psychology of
He's not
the
really a Christian
disciples
right now,
of
but
Christ.
yeah, I think that matters in a lot of different ways.
Sure.
And I think people, what if the people that didn't go to church showed up to church and they saw what everyone was doing at church,
I
which
think
that
they start
happens
coming
too.
out.
Yeah,
It's like,
you
hey, it's
think
just like a lecture. Why not come? I could just use my
why
phone.
would you be in lecture?
Hey, I don't know. I sit in like I still work at college right now. Colleges with college students and stuff. Sometimes I go to their lectures just to learn. I sit there in a lecture with college students. 'Cause I'm not that old looking, but people know I'm not a college student, and
No, there's some old people in college though,
that's true.
and they're a lot older than you.
Yeah,
There's some
that's
people that
true.
go back to college and stuff.
Yeah, and more power to them. But anyway, uh,
We
uh
digress, but the struggle is real, folks.
and we just want to encourage you guys. We know it's tough. We struggle through it too. It doesn't matter, pastor, praise leader, Bible study teacher, elder, whatever it is. Everybody struggles that Sunday morning. But I think
But I think once you go and once there, you never, I think, regret going to church.
And there's a lot to be said about someone who really is willing to go out of their comfort just to go to worship the Lord,
Hmm.
you know? And I really believe Christ and his worship is worth a lot more than our convenience in
Yeah,
lives.
I think a lot of the times, sometimes when it's the hardest to worship God,
Hmm.
that's when He breaks through.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times when it's just like other things are on my mind or I don't want to be there, and it's not necessarily the times when I'm lazy. It's more the times when like emotionally I've been battered or like I've heard bad news or I'm going through something or I fought with someone and I'm
Hmm.
just like you don't want to be anywhere and you don't think anything will help and then you realize and you sit there and you meditate on his word and he's like I'm still thinking about you and this is what I'm thinking or he speaks to you through a verse or something or through praise.
Hmm.
And I think you lose that opportunity for God to speak to you. Of course, He can speak to you anywhere, but I think out of 1 week, you have how many hours?
Man, some people, it's just like an hour
Some
sometimes.
people it's like an hour, depending
Yeah.
on what church you go to.
Yeah.
Sermons 30 minutes, worship's 10 minutes, announcements is another 20 minutes. Weird,
Yeah.
oddly
Yeah.
enough,
Yeah.
and that's it. That's their service. And a
Boom,
lot
boom,
of
boom.
mega churches try to keep it within an hour,
They're real
longest an
efficient with
hour
their
and
time.
20,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
and then they have another service, and they have
Yeah.
another service, and they have
Like
another
seven of
service.
them in a
Yeah.
day, for sure. And not knock on anybody, but it's just, I mean, if that's all that it takes, like just get off your butts and
It's just one time that you dedicate,
yeah,
regardless if you've done your quiet time or
right.
praise God and at all. You go and you refresh yourself and you reset.
Mm,
It's just, I think there's value in that.
mm,
That even if you didn't, but always we always talk about even if not, even if you didn't, like the worst case scenario.
yeah, yeah,
When you are doing it, it's a place where you sustain and you go and you have community and there's a place where God has defined a time for you and that He can speak to you, and that you go and you worship Him, like you go, you get ready, you do this. It's not just like anywhere. Like this is still God you're talking about, and I think God deserves more than just standing around and just being like, okay, God, I worship you right now because I worship you everywhere. Like you can do that, but I think God still deserves more.
for sure. And I'll tie this all back. God made this the fourth commandment. Fourth only after things like don't use the Lord's name in vain. You shall have no other gods and no idols. And the fourth commandment, basically what it means is, is they say the Sabbath was a day of rest, but it doesn't necessarily mean you don't do anything in that. And I know a lot of Jews have taken this literally, and not to knock on them or anything like that, but they take this seriously enough to where even if you hit up like Jerusalem or Israel, if you go to their elevators on Sundays, it stops at every floor. I don't know if you know this, but because lifting your arms and pressing the button is considered work, the elevator literally stops at every floor, so you never have to actually work and stuff like that. And so God isn't necessarily intending for this to be taken literally, but basically it's an easy way to think. The easy way to think about this is it's like a groundbreaking ceremony for like a new building or something. And when you unveil it, there's work behind the scenes to put the ceremony together, but the whole point behind it is to bask in the glory of what God has created. And so, um, I mean, it's essentially that for Christians, all we have to do is sit back and bask in the glory of our God. I mean, instead of being busybodies doing a bunch of things here and there, God recognizes we need to work to live, but He wants us to step aside once a week just to be in awe of our Almighty God. And it's basically what Chandler was saying. And so, let's just really all come together and for one day a week. God created the whole world in 6 days, and He rested, and He meant for man to just sit there and, wow, God, this is your creation. This is how great you are. God, yeah, I'll worship you. And so, with that said, I think Andrew's gonna lead us into the verse of the
Lead
day.
us into prayer. So we're gonna have a 1 hour prayer meeting right now, guys. So get ready to pray.
Yeah. I'm just kidding.
So Hebrews 10:24 to 25. And let us consider how we may spur one another on towards love and good deeds, not giving up meeting together, as some are in the habit of doing, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day approaching. I think this hits home. It's what we're talking about right now, and it's sometimes you forget in the morning. you forget this verse, you forget the heart, you forget the reason, and then you get really selfish. And I think it just takes a little bit of reminder and just being very, what is it called? Man, I've been forgetting words today.
Diligent?
Not diligent, but very obvious in your actions. What is it? Purposeful? What's the other word? Intentional in doing things, and just knowing that even though you don't feel like it, even though you don't know why you're doing it at the moment, even though your body feels like it's tired, like, go and remember. Do what you got to do. And congregate and be filled up with the fire. Desire that fire.
Alrighty, guys. So, at the end of the day, all we're just trying to tell you guys to do is go to church. Don't be missing out. You really do miss out on the opportunity to really have that groundbreaking ceremony with the Lord and all of His creation.
And if you don't have a church and you don't know any churches around your neighborhood, go ahead and email us at desirethefirepodcast@gmail.com. And we know a lot of people and a lot of good churches out there.
Yeah.
And we can recommend one to you.
You can just tell us where you're from. You don't have to give us your home address. We don't need none of that. But
yeah, or just give us a zip code.
Yeah, and we can find a bunch of good local churches.
And so no pressure. We're not expecting you to go. We don't want any of your personal information. If you go, or if you want us to connect you, we can connect you too. But no pressure. It's just throwing that out there. If you need something, if you need help, if you want to come out to one of our churches,
Okay, but let's be a little careful with this points, because if you're listening to this from the Philippines, it might be a little harder for us. We can try to help.
Oh, that's for sure.
But Australia, I know there's a number of churches around there.
Wow, really? You're international?
One or two. Canada, if you live in the Toronto area, I know.
Oh, yeah.
But we'll just keep it at that,
Yeah.
So just keep in mind, if you live in the LA OC area, for sure we'll help you guys out.
Yeah, reach out to us. Oh, yeah, you're right. If there's people out there that listen to us not in LA,
You gotta have vision, man.
I'm thinking too much. Like, we have 2 listeners out there.
But no disrespect to the rest of you guys listening to us. Anyway,
we're very humble beginning. We're just, honestly speaking, we're just doing this for ourselves. We need to go to church, Daniel. We're gonna go to church.
I'm going 4 days. It's Thursday today, right? Anyway, in closing, guys, just remember to go to church. You can follow us on Twitter. Once again, what was your handle, Andrew?
Boom Chandler.
Boom Chandler.
I'm getting tired of saying that.
You can always follow me at SuperDan0. That's the number 0, SuperDan0. And once again, that email that you guys can contact us is desirethefirepodcast@gmail.com. And please rate our podcast on iTunes and
5
Stitcher.
stars. 5 stars.
5 stars would be great, but just give us your honest feedback. And give us as close to honest feedback as possible without hurting our feelings. But we do have our wives to cry home to. I think that's it,
Keep saying that, man.
I love having my wife to cry home to.
I can't believe that's something you value.
That she's there for me, man.
When's the last time you cried?
Last week. About sad things.
Yeah, let's not get into that.
Just kidding. I never cry. Men don't cry. They
Alright, guys, keep the fire burning.
leak from their faces.
And we will talk to you guys again in a week. See you guys later.